It really does look like it was all in the end written in the stars for Lionel Messi and Argentina, sorry.
Written in the stars. Thanks so much, Selena. Also written in VAR. So, guys, I just want to ask, in terms of penalties, Ed, we saw in that game 3 massive penalties, changed the course of the game. Correct, in your opinion? And have you been impressed with the refereeing overall in the tournament?
Yes, I think the decisions in the final this evening were correct. I think both of the incidents were relatively similar in that the player getting caught from a defender coming in from behind. Very similar incidents. Overall, though, in the tournament, I think there have been some moments which indicate that we're not quite there yet with VAR, how it should be implemented, whether it is certainly it has good potential and it can be a really good thing, but whether the way it's being implemented at the moment is something which is good both for referees and for the spectacle overall. Some of the penalty decisions we've seen, even Morocco-Croatia in the third place playoff, the foul on Bukayo Saka in the build-up to France's critical first goal against England. Key moments like this where video assistant referee surely should be stepping in, but it just didn't happen, unfortunately.
And Karim, we've also mentioned how the rules at times are not quite clear. In the case of Bukayo Saka that Ed mentioned, we actually said in the first phase of play it should be brought back by the assistant, but it was the rules of the current officiating which had the problem, and the referee just went by the rules. Isn't that the case?
Yeah, and the problem is that we, at the FIFA or IFAB, they should look back at the use of VAR, and I fully agree with Ed on that, because it's been maybe like 4 to 5 years that there's the VAR, but there is no evolution in the way referees use it. There is no change, and so at the end there were only all those controversies surrounding VAR. I'm in favor of technology in football, because that went far after American football, rugby, tennis, and other sports. So football was late into that. But still, they have to do something. They have to maybe change the rules. They have to be clearer. Maybe we should have the VAR system in the screens, in the stadium, to make people in the attendance understanding what's happening, which is not the case.
Don't you think that would be a bit dangerous, though, if they didn't disagree?
This is the case in rugby, and that's not dangerous. So why not in football?
It's an interesting point there.
Different crowd, I would say.
Yeah, but still.
Now, first to say, I think that Marciniak in such a hectic game, he had quite a good game tonight.
Marciniak, the Polish referee.
Yeah, Polish referee, I'm sorry, yeah. The issue, for me, there are 2 issues. It's also still how you interpret the rules, for example. Let's get one example. The penalty Argentina gets in the semi-final against Croatia. We were talking before with the French, we're having a show on France 24 in French at the same time. They all say 100% penalty. We are talking here, we say never a penalty. So there's still a lot of interpretation in the game as well. If you go to Sampaio, who was the ref at France versus England, he is a Brazilian referee. Tim Vickery tweeted about it, and I thought that was really interesting. He said, in Brazil, you just whistle everything. Now he's on the World Cup, where he's clearly instructed not to whistle too much. He let it play. Yeah, it's all the time changing how they're doing it. It's not that there's like golden rules on how to be a ref. That's a real issue, I think. And every time there's also, we were talking about how many red cards there have been in this tournament, 4 or 5. That was also clear instructions not to send people off that quickly. They wanted to. There was some instructions, and it wasn't perfect, to say the least, during this tournament.
And just quickly, another point of what we can do better with the VAR. When I watched the NFL, American football, and even in the NBA and basketball, the referees, they explain their decision. That's not the case in football. And in rugby, I would take back that example. You can hear on the television, you can hear what they are talking between referees. You can be in their mindset to understand their decisions. Whether you agree with them or not, you can understand why they take that decision. That's not the case in football. And every time, so many times, we look at it and say, we don't understand, we don't get it about the decision. So maybe in terms of TV directing on television. Maybe we could do better.
But Ed, what do you think about that?
Well, I would say on one of Ruben's points, an amazing stat from the tournament is that more managers and assistant managers saw direct red cards, straight red cards, than players did.
Oh, that is
Which is,
fascinating.
well, it's astonishing. It's absolutely baffling. I agree, more communication, more transparency, more accountability.
A press conference after a game with the referee to explain his decisions, or is that an overreach?
But they do.
Yeah,
They did. There was a press conference with Björn Kuipers, for example, after the Euros final. And to be fair, in the Netherlands, all the refs are always reacting, and now they're stopping it. So we're just turning it back, to be fair, because there was always also controversy about those interviews, because they're only talking with the refs after they did a bad game. So
I think if you start doing that, then you create a kind of expectation where there's going to be this referee fronting up to a camera, explaining to angry players or journalists or whatever about his decisions, and I think that sets a concerning precedent. I think it's just an important area, a grey area, where they need to find the correct line, and I don't think we're there yet.
And what about this move by the referee association chief, Pierluigi Collina, to get a prolonged added time? We've seen 11, 12, 13 minutes of added time on these World Cup matches. Are you in agreement with that? Do you think it brings something extra to the game?
Well, it's also something similar to what we see in rugby, which is well established and works quite well. I'm personally a fan because I think you get that extra. Teams can lift themselves. It's such a boost for a team. It can really change the momentum of a game when a side can see, wow, we actually have 8 minutes, 9 minutes, even 10 minutes to go and try and hunt this one down. And I think that was one of the reasons maybe why we saw such a dramatic, such an exhilarating group stage, because teams received this unexpected bonus, this second win late on. So I do quite like that. You feel like you're getting your money's worth as well. And I'm a fan of that.
I'm not a fan of that for one reason, because you said about rugby, but in my opinion, it is unclear, because when you reach the 45th minute or the 90th minute, it should be done or almost done if you have like normal added time. In rugby, they stop the clock each and every time there is a stoppage, and then once there's a siren at the minute 40, you know that this is the last action of the half, and it is better for me, better comprehension for players and even for viewers as well. I understand what you say, and yeah, we have some dramatic finishes, and especially with the Netherlands against Argentina, for example. But still, this is not clear, and this rule came a little bit out of nowhere 1 month or two before the World Cup, said raised by Pierluigi Collina. Maybe they needed to prepare that rule way before the World Cup, because we were all surprised while watching the first games of the tournament, let's be honest.
But it comes down to the same, proper play time. If we can get that, even better. If you just stop the clock when there's someone on the ground, fair as well, but they're not there yet. The issue is with football that we have normally in the last 10 minutes all players rolling on the ground and just faking injuries and just wasting time. Then it's good that they add 10 minutes.
Yeah,
if you can just have proper playing time like in rugby, be my guest. But I don't know if the football world is already ready to be that fair to others. But
gentlemen, we can talk about this forever and an eon. But now I just want to take the direction away from the football on the pitch, and let's look a little bit at the legacy of Qatar. Of course, the tournament was given to the hosts back in 2010. That envelope was reached out by then President Josep Blatter. Since then, there's been a lot of consternation, a lot of controversy surrounding the likes of women's rights, human rights, of course, and the treatment of the LGBTQ community. All that being said, the FIFA head, Gianni Infantino, has praised it as the best World Cup ever.